I think we all know who it is. It is me! I'm number 1! I'm the best one this year! Oh! 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 Don't even try that ever again. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. I swear if you do it next year, I probably will.
Stay nerdy and get your geek on.
What's up, guys? BC coming back at you guys with yet another video, and it's a new place with a new setup. The setup's kind of a work in progress. Work with me here. But with that said, I wanted the next video to be a review, but unfortunately that was something I couldn't make happen just due to a lot of time restraints and stuff like that. So with that said, I decided it's the end of the year, so why not do what everybody loves to watch near the end of the year? Top 10s! Or I guess in this case it would be a top 20, because admittedly I'm kind of taking tidbits from other top 10 types of videos I watch, specifically Bobby Skullface. You know, that I swear I'm not trying to rip him off, but he honestly does this in the best way. So I'm going to use that template from here on out to see if it'll be easier for me to do it by 5-figure increments, so I can better formulate my opinions. So with that said, the 5 top subjects is going to be top 5 most disappointing, top 5 surprisingly good, top 5 worst, top 5 best overall, all around for the year, basically. So I apologize for this. It is not, the focus is not working for me right now. There we go. Lock that in. There we go. So yeah. I hope that you guys enjoy the video, and I'm going to make it very clear, these are all figures I've gotten over the year. It's entirely my personal opinion. So if a figure that you have doesn't make this list, well, it's because it's my opinion. There will be honorable mentions, and hopefully some of the stuff you guys vastly prefer ended up there. If not, well, then I guess we're just going to have to wait for another possible top 10 for that to show up. But anyways, with that said, we're going to start with my top 5 most disappointing figures of 2020. Let's begin. And my number 5 choice goes to Power Rangers Lightning Collection King Sphinx. Before you come at me with the pitchforks, hear me out. He's number 5 on my most disappointing list. So therefore, that doesn't mean the figure itself is inherently bad. In fact, it's quite a good figure. I do really like it for what it is. But the reason why he heavily falls short is because the figure he basically comes packaged with, that being pumpkin wrapper, was significantly better than him. And he's the one I was looking forward to the most. So, and the reason why I was looking forward to this the most and ended up extremely disappointed is because he has extremely limited shoulder movement. So you can't really get super dynamic poses with this guy. Which is a shame, because those wings look spectacular on him. So just overall, this dude, he's just not cutting it for this list. So that puts him at number 5. My number 4 kind of breaks my heart a little bit, because I am a Master Force fanboy. My number 4 is Fans Hobby Athena. There's just something about this that just screams that she's lacking. Her articulation is pretty decent, but she's loose and floppy, which is one thing Power Baser was not. The Headmaster gimmick, the fact that it's not really a fully complete Headmaster transformation because you basically have to scalp her, that drives me insane because that means more parts loss. And I feel like the fact that this whole bit was not properly integrated to the point where you can literally just rip it off and have it be the standard figure. While having this off definitely improves her look, you lose this, entire figure's ruined. That drives me nuts. So for these nagging little issues alone, she's got to end up where she ends up, which is number 4 on my most disappointing. Number 3, MP Hot Rod. Like, look, guys, this thing is disappointing entirely because of the fact that this thing got way more positive reviews than I expected, and I was hoping and praying he was going to be a lot better. Unfortunately, regardless of whether it's official or KO or whatever, this mold just doesn't hold up. Especially when he's supposed to be in the same exact pocket as some of the best MP releases to ever grace a Transformers Masterpiece shelf. That being the Dotson Brothers, Sideswipe, Sunstreaker. You get what I'm saying at this point. This figure fell short. At least for me. He's not that great. He's not terrible, though. Because he does have a lot of redeeming factors, and at some point I do want to review this figure to kind of better get my point across with it. But as it stands right now, he's number 3 on my most disappointing. Number 2. Again, this is one that hurts for me to do. High grade Kingosaur. Like, guys, I gotta be real. The final payoff just isn't here. I love it entirely because this is something I never thought was gonna happen. And I'm glad it did. Don't get me wrong, this is another one of those things where I do fully intend to review these to better get my point across for how I feel about these. But this is something where the whole is not nearly as good as the sum of its parts. The 3 separate robots are fantastic as little model kit robots. But the combined mode leaves so much to be desired. I hope and pray that by some miracle these guys get a master grade treatment. Because then it would allow so much room for improvement. But as it stands, these guys take number 2. And once again, it hurts for me to say that. And my number 1 most disappointing figure, I'm pretty sure everybody saw this coming as soon as I started complaining about it. MMC Ocular Max Probus, their Brawl. And it's not that this figure is bad. In fact, if for whatever reason that whole what I'm about to go into that put it on the most disappointing didn't happen, this easily would have been top 5. Easily on his own. But here's the thing. The instructions for this figure suck. And because of the fact that they sucked, I didn't understand what I needed to do to properly turn him into the leg mode. So I could get a look at the combined mode. Because of course you're going to get a look at the combined mode. So when he was plugged onto the knee, or as a leg, I went to move the knee. Obviously parts colliding wasn't exactly working out in the best way. And the neck joint broke. I've glued that thing like 3 times, and he still just. This thing is an utter disappointment entirely because of the fact that this whole neck area thing, this should have been thought out better. There should have been something, like they should have made that neck just a little thicker. That neck peg should have been just that tiny bit thicker to avoid breakage. And just I'm being passionate about this entirely because I love every other figure leading up to him. I was so excited for him. And the fact that that happened to his neck, that is what put this on the most... This is what made this figure the most utterly disappointing for the year. Just period, flat out. So there we go. There's my top 5 most disappointing figures of the year. I really wish most of these were better. I really do. Brawl for his neck. King Gosar for the fact that it just doesn't function well as a combiner. Athena because she just... There's too many nagging things about her. Hot Rod because... Well, look at him. And King Sphinx because of the shoulders. I just... These are figures that literally give me a headache. Because, like, I'm sitting here talking about these and I'm feeling that headache coming on right now. Like, just why? Why? But things do start to go higher from here. Because now we get into the top 5 surprisingly good. And, again, bearing in mind this is just my personal opinion, but... I'm giving my number 5 pick to X-Transbots Toro. And the reason why is because, yes, he is a mini-bot. He's pretty decently small. So why did this make surprisingly good, BC? I'll tell you why. This dude's accessory count more than made up for his price point. The figure itself is actually really good. The articulation for his size is solid. The paintwork that is there is very sharp and very well done. But the fact that this dude literally comes loaded with an actual tray of accessories, that tray in of itself incorporates to the vehicle mode, so therefore there's gimmickry with this figure, I couldn't believe that for the price I paid, I got way more than I thought I would. So entirely because of that aspect alone, this guy's got to take number 5 for most surprisingly good. My number 4 pick is this. The 1/60th scale Gundam Exia. Look, I realize that this isn't the perfect grade, but I'm going to share my perfectly honest opinion with that. If I kept it, it would have been one of the most disappointing things I've ever had. Period. Zip. Nada. Like, you can't even argue that with me. That being said, when I saw this, I was literally sitting here like, I don't know, man. This doesn't seem like something that I'm gonna enjoy too much, buddy. Because I got this from my boy, Rob, shout out to him. But with that said, after I actually sat down and really got down and dirty and really messed with this and started putting it in a bunch of poses and saw how much more solid this was in comparison to the perfect grade, which was falling apart in my hands, this was a nice breath of fresh air. Does he not look nearly as detailed as the perfect grade? Yes, clearly he does not. But that's something I was more than willing to trade out if it meant I was going to get a solid kit at the end of the day. Because overall, this thing is an absolute beast of a mobile suit. And even though he is much smaller than most of the other ones I have of this scale, he's still pretty good, and I'm daring enough to say he will hold his own on a shelf. Obviously, you're going to want to do something about this sword, but you know, what else can I say? Other than number 4, surprisingly good. Number 3, Lightning Collection Pumpkin Wrapper. There is just something about this whacked out design that I absolutely love. I don't know what it is about him. He's clearly the less aesthetically pleasing figure in comparison to King Sphinx. But for whatever reason, entirely because of the fact that you can put him in any pose possible that would actually work with this, and he holds it perfectly, his shoulders actually function, and the fact that he comes with these little pumpkins that if you pop the heads off your rangers, you pop those pumpkins on and reenact that entire episode. You get an entire episode's worth of accessories with just one figure. This dude is a beast in value, a beast in posability, and a beast in absolute display presence. I love this figure so much. He's so good. Like, he's surprisingly good. He's way better than I initially thought he was going to be. And that ultimately is the theme of this. Better than expected. So therefore, he takes number 3 on the most surprisingly good. Number 2, KFC Transistor Orange Red version. There's a reason why I went for the orange red version, but hear me out first. This is a figure that I really, like, I kind of bounced back and forth with it. At one point, I really wanted it. And then the very next, I'm like, he can wait. And then I continuously flip-flopped on him because he didn't turn into anything practical. He turned into a boombox. That was something that, like, I had to kind of accept that in my head, that he turned into a boombox. Which is funny, coming from the guy that bought the Titans Turn Leader Blaster, when that's exactly what he turned into. But even then, say what you will, but for a masterpiece scale blaster, this thing took me by utter surprise. The transformation that everybody told me I was gonna hate with this thing, I don't. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't. I don't hate this thing's transformation. In fact, I think it's pretty ingenious how it all works. That being said, though, there are certain things about at least this version of the figure that just kind of slightly annoys me, but I'll get into stuff like that and the possibility of a review of him later in the future. But with that said, hands down, number 2 of the most surprisingly good on as far as my list goes. Number 2, most surprisingly good. Great figure, way better than expected. And my number 1 on the most surprisingly good figures of the year is Perfect Grade Zeta Gundam. This build, forgive my language, it pissed me off. All my friends that have gotten on Skype with me to watch me build this thing witnessed me rage trying to get this thing put together. But when I clicked those last few pieces together and I finally got the final mobile suit built and looking solid as a rock, I fell head over heels for this. The presence that this thing carries is second to none. It's beautiful in person. The transformation, in comparison to any other kit of Zeta Gundam, is solid, intuitive, it's easy. The only thing that can be a bit of a bear is the wing sections. I'll go into a lot of this when I finally review this thing. Julian, you better watch it. I swear if you don't. But anyways, this figure, I called it a figure because it's that good. This kit, it floored me. It absolutely floored me. I was not sure what to expect at first, but now that I have it in hand, I'm so glad I got it. I didn't pay nearly as much for it as many others did, but I'm not mad. In fact, I'm positive on the fact that I feel this dude is just... He's one of the best kits I've bought ever. Period. Zip. I love the way this kit turned out. There's only one other kit that's way better than this, and you will see it. Trust me, you'll see it. And there we go. The 5 most surprisingly good figures of the year. / kits. Like, again, these are things that when I got them, I was not initially sure what to expect. But what I got was way better. Clearly enough, 2 beasts for pure value. Better than expected, entirely based on what it is. Far better than what I had before. Nice breath of fresh air. And despite being an absolute nightmare of a build, the final product is simply astonishing. I love this thing. Like, again, I cannot wait to review this thing. It's astonishing. So, with that said, now we're going to have to dive back in deep. Because now we're doing the top 5 worst. And kicking off with number 5... This hurts so much. It's X-Transbots Overheat. Their take on Drag Strip. I wanted so badly to love this guy. But bearing in mind that this is my second copy of this figure broke on me the moment I went to transform it. I had his right arm, right where the bicep swivel is. That literally snapped right in half on my first copy. Now, one thing that unfortunately carried over on both copies is the looseness at the waist and this extremely loose thigh joint. I tried to fix this. Nothing I did worked. Nothing I did held up. This figure, he's just a mess. He's an absolute mess. Where honestly, his most redeeming qualities: the articulation, solid. The paintwork, solid. And yeah, can't wait for the trailer, I guess. Number 4, MP Tracks. Again, this is one that's going to hurt for me to do, but not because I am extremely attached to this character, but because this was my birthday gift from my wife. That being said, this thing it's got so many issues. It's got so many problems, and it sucks because he's the only masterpiece version of the character on the market. This hurts. Like, it hurts so bad to see him like this. I don't know what else to say. I really don't know what else to say. This thing... I feel like this doesn't deserve the Masterpiece title. At all. Period. Number 3. X-Transbots Arcos. Look. The only reason why I got it was because I missed out on the fans' toys. Part of me was thinking, maybe it's going to be a lot better in hand. And it was. Visually. Functionally, I'm barely even flopping this around and shaking it. And look at those knees go. Do-si-do. Look at them go. To and fro. Number 2. The MP09 mold. Do I really need to beat this horse? Do I really need to continue to beat this dead horse at this point? This thing sucks. Just flat out, this thing sucks. Just calm down, BC. Calm down. Do you need a DP? Yeah, I probably do. With that said, don't buy it. It's awesome that Jackie's around, because he did manage to get me a Dr. Pepper. Because you're going to have to prepare for rage here in a second. Takara, we need to talk. What the actual hell is this? This thing is flimsy. It is garbage. It is trash. It is every possible negative emotion that I can possibly feel culminated into one singular plastic figure. Masterpiece Hound is god awful. The plastic is trash. The paint is trash. Everything about this figure screams cheap. This figure was not cheap. And the reason why I'm so angry about this is while Dragstrip broke on me when I was in the middle of transforming it. This busted on me right out of the box. The fact that he's in robot mode at all and standing on my shelves is a miracle. This figure is garbage. And Takara needs to seriously figure out a way to either rectify this or vault it. It's garbage, and this is unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable, especially for the price they demanded for this. Absolute trash. Guys, I feel a way about all these. So once again, just going through it. First copy broke on me with the right arm bicep swivel. Got the second copy. That was no longer an issue, but a lot of the other things carried over, which just annoyed me to no end. Trax, just given what he represents and how I got it, he's just, Arcos, do I really need to explain it? MP09, do I really need to explain it? I would throw Jackie at Hound, but for once I feel like that will be insulting Jackie. Wait, what? Shut it. Overall, this was the pinnacle of absolute trash. I rarely ever get trash figures. That happened this year. Just let's just start detoxing. Top 5 best. Man, I was waiting for this because this is definitely gonna help after the last half of the list. Number 5, MP Ultra Magnus. TF Customs, my guy. Thank you. Oh man, like for real though, this figure is astonishing. Just like guys, you gotta understand. I love this figure so much. It's so good. It's so good. Like unlike the other ones where I was literally sitting like, oh, I love it so much, but they were unsurprisingly good. This was something that I knew I was gonna love the moment I got it. And when it finally was in my hands, it was like, check that box, I'm good to go. I don't need anything else, I don't need anyone else as far as this character is concerned. So MP Ultra Magnus takes number 5, and I admit a lot of this is probably because of the finally factor. Now number 4 best was kind of a bit of a toss-up for me between Aegis and Pian. But ultimately, in the end, I feel like Pian's better. And the reason why is because Pian handles his transformation significantly better. The tow truck mode actually works. I was not expecting that, like, there's just something about Pian. Like, the hoist right in front of you guys. There's just something about this figure that speaks to me. I don't know what it is. All I know is this is a solid figure. It's really good, very posable, despite issues with the arms, which I'm honestly kind of okay with. And just overall, they took what was a really dumpy, lumpy, frumpy design and made it look cool. Like, this is just a cool looking figure. And that shocked me. And therefore, again, for the shock value of it, he takes number 4 as one of the best figures I've gotten this year. Number 3. I'm pretty sure y'all saw this coming from a mile away. The only figure thus far that with the new tier system easily snagged himself the BC seal. This figure is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. Articulates like an absolute champ. Transformations, smooth, sweet, easy, intuitive, fun to flip back and forth, fun to pose. Painted top to bottom, looks magnificent. Crushes it as far as shelf presence is concerned. I cannot see anybody else doing an NP Springer better than this. And yes, I'm saying this knowing the Fans Toys 1 exists. I vastly prefer this. Let that speak for itself. Number 2. Perfect Grade Banshee. Just, do I need to explain this? Like, do I really need to? The figure is, slightly spectacular. Although he did kind of take a bit of a tumble today. Which is funny because I've had him for a while now, and I've had him built for a while now, and he has been solid as a rock, but then as soon as he tumbled today, something broke on him. Immediate sadness on the part of BC. But we're not going to worry about that. Fact of the matter is, this thing is absolutely spectacular once you get it built. This thing dominates a shelf. You can put it on a shelf with a bunch of Transformers and it'll dominate the Transformers. You can put it on a shelf with a bunch of Gundams and it will dominate those Gundams. You can put it on a shelf filled with Power Rangers and it will dominate that shelf. A lot of it has to do with the size, but you also got to bear in mind, look at the way they designed this thing. If you perfect grade something that looks like this, where it's big, menacing, and imposing, you're gonna get a kit that looks far better than anything else you have in your collection. But there's one figure that steals the show. Only one. And we're gonna get to that as soon as we're done with the honorable mentions. And there are all of my so far honorable mentions. I'm pretty sure I could add more, but just I don't have a lot of space for this right now. So overall, of everything I managed to snag in 2020, this is the amalgamation of at least a decent portion of it. So we have, from left to right, NPM Starscream, Masterpiece Cheetor, Fans Toys Sovereign, great figure. He is the next review. Get ready for that. Make Toys Downbeat, MP44, Fans Toys Coot, Psycho Black to represent the entire Psycho Ranger 5-pack. A lot of bias for why this is here, but we'll get to that whenever I review the set. Super Mini Pla, Ninja Megazord, Ninja Falcon Megazord at least, and NPM Ratchet. So yeah, now that I've teased you guys long enough, let's get into it. Before I set this in front of the camera, I'm going to ask a question. How many of you called it? Because number one is Masterpiece Lyle Convoy. Guys, I don't think you properly grasp what this figure means to me. This is my all-time favorite character in the mythos. To see him immortalized in plastic that looks this good, this had to take number one. It was a toss-up between him and Banshee. Straight up. Like, just straight up. It was a major toss-up. But in the end, I couldn't resist it. He's too close to my heart. I had to pick him. Despite every fiber of my being fighting the bias to pick him, I couldn't fight it any longer. MP Lyle Convoy takes Figure of the Year for me. Entirely because this is literally a dream come true. Kind of got to prop the camera up against myself real quick to kind of get this shot, because Banshee, even without the stand, is just way too tall to properly fit in the kind of makeshift background I got going. But that aside, these are the 5 figures that just blew my mind this year. I love these so much. Okay, so my apologies for the sudden angle change. I kind of had to move it over to get the brick plugged into a charger because the camera died as I was talking. But anyways, yeah, these are the figures that took the top 5 of the year, and clearly enough, you know, was there ever any doubt to anybody who knows me? Was there ever any doubt that he was going to win? These guys they make me so happy, and every single time I look at them, I'm reminded of how happy I am that I made these figures happen in my collection. Even though one of them was a kit, but that aside, I'm very happy with these. I'll catch you guys next year, and hopefully next year there will be way more reviews, way more videos in general, as well as the possible return to form with more interviews. I'll see you guys then. Stay nerdy and get your geek on. I'll catch you guys next time.